strong first quarter to the year and second quarter off to a strong start as well. We had news last night that Texas Instruments is in the United States bidding $6.5 billion for national semiconductor. So it looks like M&A activity really on the pickup here.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have to look, I guess, at the global picture first. And if you look at that, you see that M&A activity is definitely picking up, especially in the U.S., where which accounted for about almost half of the global activity in the first quarter of this year. And so that was a big increase and fueled by the U.S. and the sentiment that the economic recovery is gaining momentum.
Is this the sort of growth you would have expected in M&A activity, given the momentum we are seeing in the global economy at this stage?
Well, I think this is pretty much in line. I mean, as I said, the recovery wasn't maybe as, in terms of M&A activity, wasn't as strong as one could have expected, especially in Europe. But in the US, we saw the return of large-scale strategic deal-making, which certainly fueled the activity. Also, the return of cross-border activity, which again will have an impact in Europe as well as in Africa.
Well, you mentioned
and South Africa.
You mentioned large-scale activity. How does the deal size compare to the deals that were done pre the financial crisis?
Well, you had quite a big increase in terms of mid-size deals. That's really in the US as well as in Europe. But again, the deal size has increased, especially in the US, and we saw also the emerging markets players also playing a part in the increase of deal size, with Indian and Chinese players coming to snap up assets in Africa specifically.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because it's the strongest quarter on record for M&A activity by BRIC countries. Although, if you look at emerging markets as a whole, M&A activity dropping by 8.5%. So it really looks like size does count, and that there is a big focus on those fast-growing BRIC economies.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at what happened last year, where emerging markets were very much sustaining the M&A activity globally. But obviously, with such a strong quarter from the US, the BRIC countries and the emerging markets in general are going to be, comparatively lower in terms of activity. But we've still seen some good signs of increased activity in BRICS and in Africa. But again, Africa has to compete in terms of M&A activity with those BRICS countries, which are very much ahead. But we'll see more of activity, we expect anyway, in South Africa and Africa in general in the coming year.
Well, going by sectors, it was the energy, mining and utility sector that really attracted most of the deals. Is that really what Africa is attracting? Are we looking at deals in our energy and mining industries in Africa?
Well, this is definitely, the main driver of M&A activity in South Africa, and will continue to be so. You have those Indian and Chinese players, more particularly, looking to sustain their growth, and they need to acquire those mining resources. But there will be also, we expect, more activity in other sectors, such as consumer. And you saw an example of that with the Walmart acquiring Massmart, and I think that's a good sign of what's coming up.
I mean, just looking at deals that haven't materialized, though, and going back, and it's beyond the first quarter of this year, we had BHP's Billiton's potential acquisition of potash blocked by the Canadian government. Are we also seeing national interests coming into play here, where deals are being blocked because of national interests?
Absolutely. But this hasn't been so much the case in South Africa up until now. The regulatory landscape in South Africa has been more relaxed towards foreign investment, but there could be some hurdles, regarding black economic empowerment regulation, and also the fact that Africa has to compete, as I said, with other BRIC countries. So it's looking good for South Africa in terms of M&A activity, but there are some obstacles and regulatory obstacles, among others.
Going perhaps a little bit further north to North Africa and the Middle East, to what extent has M&A activity in the first quarter been curtailed by the so-called Jasmine Revolution? Do you think that's perhaps put a stop to potential deals in that region?
Well, I think it has had an impact when foreign investors are looking whether to go into those countries. So maybe they won't be comfortable going into those countries at the very moment. But in terms of deals that were due to happen and that were already in the works, we haven't we've reported on the fact that those deals were still going through despite the unrest. So it could have an impact more in the coming months. It hasn't had such a big impact yet.
And just in closing, having had a strong first quarter, do you think the momentum's there globally for a strong second quarter of M&A activity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you saw, the big recovery in the US, you still have those fundamentals that are still here. You still have executives feeling that it's still a good time, or probably still a good time, yeah, to buy. And you have also the less of a gap expectations between buyer and sellers. So those things will probably fuel activity further.